Boo?
Here.
Janice?
Here.
JJ?
Not here.
No. Dr. Davis?
Absent.
Dr. Hill?
Here.
Larry?
Here.
Dr. Kimberly?
Here.
Jason?
Here.
Steve? Dr. Steve?
Here.
And Brittany?
Not here.
Nope. Bill Boudreaux.
Mr. Jake,
Yes.
can I make a motion to suspend items 3, 7, and 8?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Is there,
Any objection?
Suspend
is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
The second has been moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Three what?
Everybody's in favor. Okay, everybody had a chance to look at the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes? If there's no change, they stand as presented. Our next item, my dear, I think is you.
Okay, well, hello. Thank you for having me. My name is Melissa Carolla. I am the Finance and Operations Director at the Louisiana Association of Public Charter Schools. It is a very long name, so we just go by LAPCS. Like, it doesn't even fit on our checks. It's just too long. I have been with LAPCS for 17 years in this position. I've been working with charter schools since 2006. Started with New Schools New Orleans in 2006, and then went to the association in 2009. One of the things that I do is governance trainings. We have a program called Charter Board Leadership Academy that Dr. Hill went through. It is much more information than you are going to get today, but I'm going to try and just touch on some of the high level stuff that you need to know as a board, sort of like a 101. And then I'm going to go into a little bit of, based off of the survey that y'all did, the board assessment that y'all did, a couple of areas that I identified that we might want to dive deeper into. I'm going to try and get through this pretty quickly. So people tell me I have a tendency to talk fast. If I'm talking too fast, just like hold your hand up and be like, whoa. Also, I am going to share this presentation with you all after this evening, and so you'll have access to the presentation if you want to dive deeper. As a member of LAPCS, you're also all at any time welcome to call me. My email is in here. My cell phone number's all over the place. It's really easy to find me. So if you have questions that you want to follow up with afterwards, I'm more than happy to answer any of those questions. So I will go ahead and get started. This is LAPCS. What we do, we support, promote, and advocate. Primarily, we have a staff of 6 people. 4 of those people are primarily focused on advocacy, spending time at the legislature, spending time at Bessie, spending time at Orleans Parish School Board, sometimes at East Baton Rouge Parish School Board. But a lot of what we do is advocacy. The support work that we do is things like this. We do trainings for you guys. We do the Charter Board Leadership Academy. We do our conference in December. So we do a lot of what we call professional development for boards, school leaders, finance leaders, operations leaders, sort of the administrative. But we know nothing about academics. We don't pretend to know anything about academics. We don't do anything with teachers. I see you've already separated yourselves.
I have diplopia, so when I was looking over there, I'm seeing everything in double, so.
It's great, easier. So it wasn't him. It wasn't
It
him.
was.
He knows he didn't sit here either.
So I want to start off with, and I know many of you have been on this board for a long time, so this should be really easy for you, right? What is a charter school? I want 1 or 2 people to give me your definition of it. Not you, because you went through the program.
Oh, I forgot. So
You forgot already? What is a charter school? I want 1 or 2 people to tell me what your, if someone came up on the street to you and said, what is a charter school? What would you tell them?
Well, I tell you what, we have to correct a lot of people all the time. We have to let them know it's public school,
Yes.
and so many people don't know that
That
to this day.
yes, that is very true.
And it follows the rules of a regular school in most cases.
So I want you all, after this, to print out this slide and put it somewhere you can see it. A charter school is an independent public school of choice that is given educational and operational autonomy. So autonomy is the one that people usually get, right? They're like, we're independent, we have autonomy, in exchange for performance-based accountability via the charter contract. I highlighted accountability because most times when I ask this question, people can tell me autonomy. We're independent schools, we have autonomy to pick our curriculum, hire our principal. Everyone forgets about accountability. Accountability is even more important than our autonomy, because people think that as even people who know we're public think that we don't have the same accountability as public schools, as traditional public schools. We do. We actually have more accountability than traditional public schools, because if we do not meet the terms of our charter, if we do not meet the terms of our authorizers, we will lose the privilege of serving children. So it's very important that when you're talking about autonomy and independence, you're also talking about the level of accountability that we are held to. So there are three tenets of charter schools. Choice, right? Parents select you. Teachers select you. No one is assigned to your school. Flexibility. You have the ability to make timely decisions and be nimble to do things that are right for your school. And accountability. So charter schools are governed by a nonprofit community board and are held to high academic, financial, and organizational standards. We are held accountable for improved student achievement, and we are closed if performance is consistently low. So we're going to talk about some of the fundamentals of good, just high-level fundamentals of good governance. Governance has a dual focus: to achieve the organization's stated mission and to ensure that the organization is viable. So what does this really mean? Money and strategy, right? The board is responsible for money and the strategic direction of the school. Everyone in here understands that as a board member, you are the fiscally responsible party for the organization, right? Yes? You are the fiscally responsible arm for this organization. And then the mission is very important, that as a board, you're working with your school leadership to move the organization towards your mission through strategy, right? Strategic plans, metrics, goals, you know, how you're moving your school forward. Those are the two areas of board governance. So their least effective boards are those who rubber stamp management's priorities. So your school leader, your CFO, they come in with their board packet and they say, here you go. And you look at it and you go, great. Moving on, right? You don't ask critical questions. You're not really looking at things. You trust them to run the school. You have a board because you're required to, and you're not really asking those critical questions. A mid-level board will handle prepackaged problems and solutions. So they'll come to you and say, we need your guidance on this, or we need help. You know, we're looking for a new facility. You know, can you help us get a new facility? Highest performing boards raise and discuss crucial questions that require critical thinking. It doesn't mean that you're micromanaging your school leadership, but you're asking critical questions, right? One example I can use in terms of, let's say, budgeting, right? Your school leader comes to you and you're looking at the budget, and all of a sudden last year you had MFP revenues of $1 million. This year it's $1.5 million. Well, that doesn't make sense. Where are all these extra kids coming from, right? So those are the kind of things you should question. If something doesn't seem right, you should ask those questions. The role of the board is to focus relentlessly on student achievement, obviously. Recruit and retain an exceptional leader. We are not going to go into school leader retention. I have a whole nother presentation on that, but understand that recruiting and retaining an exceptional leader is extremely important and extremely difficult, right? There are not a lot of really great school leaders around. If you get one, make sure you're nurturing them, send them through professional development, work with them, because if you lose a school leader, you're not in a district, they're not just going to assign some new principal to you, you're going to have to find them, and it can be really difficult and it can be really expensive. Invest in exemplary governance. Like taking the time today, I know y'all, like, the board meeting's already long enough. Y'all really need to listen to this woman talk for 45 minutes to an hour. This is good for you as a board to invest in yourselves in professional development. Acting strategically and being accountable, we talked about raising and using resources wisely, right? Financial. And then commit steadfastly to compliance. No, we're going to talk about what public laws you are required to follow. Know them, follow them. It's very important that you do. Board member duties, you have 3 duties as a board member: a duty of care, a duty of loyalty, and a duty of obedience. A duty of care: prepare for meetings and actively participate. I cannot tell you how many board meetings I go to that I observe, and there's like 1 or 2 people that talk, and everybody else just sits there and goes, okay. Like, you want to actively participate in the meeting, otherwise, why are you giving up your precious time to come sit on a charter school board if you're not contributing and participating? Routinely evaluating the CEO and your own performance, right? I will share the results of the board assessment with you guys when I share the presentation. It's really important that you look at yourselves as a board and say, where can we improve? What sort of metrics and goals can we set for ourselves? Again, that's a whole nother presentation, but just putting that in your brain. Engage in risk assessment and strategic planning discussions. And then implement and enforce policies for financial and operational integrity, right? You should have your own board policies around financials, the financial procedures and processes. You need to be fully aware of the school's policies so that you can follow those policies as well. Normally in the school's financial policies, there will be, something around boards, when boards can be reimbursed for certain things. I mean, you're uncompensated, but there are things you can be reimbursed for. I don't know if that's in y'all's policies, but that is something you should be familiar with. A duty of loyalty: avoiding conflicts of interest, right? And not just in the ethics code, avoiding conflicts of interest, but also avoiding like perceptions of conflicts of interest, right? Abiding by the conflict of interest policies. I think 7 of y'all took the assessment. 6 of y'all said y'all have not signed a conflict of interest policy. So I don't know if y'all have a conflict of interest policy and you're just not signing it, but you should have a conflict of interest policy. We have one that we worked with lawyers at Tulane to put together. I am happy to, you do not have to recreate the wheel. I'm happy to send you ours and you can recreate it for yourself. It's very simple. Happy to share that. If you want me to, somebody just remind me because I will forget, but very easy. Never using school or board information for personal gain, pretty obvious. And promoting and advocating for the school. We have done polls that tell us that the people in the schools are the best advocates for charter schools. They're tired of hearing from Caroline. They're tired of hearing from us. They're, oh, y'all are the paid lobbyists for charter schools. That's not true, but that's what people think. But people who are actually on the ground doing the work, talking about your charter school, talking about charter schools in general, is what polls say moves people the most. And then a duty of obedience: comply with federal and state laws, act consistent with the board's purpose, articles of incorporation, and bylaws. Has everyone in here who's on the board seen the charter agreement, the bylaws, and the articles of incorporation? Yes, everyone? Okay, impressive. And then be aligned with the school's goals, vision, and mission, right? The goals and the vision and the mission are things that you should be able to say, not word for word, but as a board member, what was one of the first slides? One of your responsibilities is to meet the mission of the school. It's impossible to meet the mission of the school if you don't know the mission of the school. It's very rare that I'll do a board training that the board members are really familiar with the mission of the school. Everybody in here know the mission of the school?
Yeah, it's on our agenda.
See, and that's what I tell people to do. Put it on your agenda. So y'all are already a step ahead.
I just didn't know I had to put the location.
Yeah, that's part of the law. The mission is a best practice. Okay, governance, oversight, and direction. So you're shaping the mission and direction and strategic direction by upholding the promises in the charter contract and setting policies. Monitor and improve performance, annually evaluating the CEO, board self-assessments. Y'all just did one. Using dashboards. I love dashboards. It makes board packets a little smaller, and it also makes board meetings a lot more efficient. And then ensuring leadership and resources. So you're selecting and supporting your CEO. You're ensuring adequate financial resources, and then developing a competent, results-oriented board. If it's not part of the pie, then it's not your responsibility. So if the things you're talking about at a board meeting don't fit into one of those pieces of the pie, you're probably veering into management rather than governance. How do you act strategically? You're going to determine the strategic direction for the school and then respect the balance between oversight and management. The board accounts for the performance of the school leader. You have one employee. Your one employee is the school leader. The CFO is not your employee. No one in the office is your employee. The teachers are not your employees. The board's accounting for the performance of the school leader, who is accounting for the performance of the teachers, who is accounting for the performance of the students, right? So if you feel like there are goals and metrics that you want to track, maybe that are financial, obviously, those are things you're holding the school leader accountable to. The school leader is not doing the book, most likely is not handling the books, but the school leader is supervising the person that is, right? So you can have goals with your school leader that directly correlate to her oversight of her staff, right? But you should not be hiring a CFO. You should not be going to a CFO with questions unless you go through the school leader first, or if it's at a board meeting. I'm not going to go through this bullet by bullet because I'm going to share this with you, but this gives you an idea of what setting the foundation for decision making looks like and what it does not, right? Just, you want to question assumptions, but you don't want to like go meddling and going down the rabbit hole on things. You question assumptions, you get the answer. This is a framework to guide board decisions. Again, I'm not going to go through every single bullet point on this because you'll get this, but this will tell you who is responsible for what, right? The governance and the board focuses on oversight, strategy, and risk management. Management is responsible for implementing, planning, and organizing the strategies that you set out as a board. The board evaluates and supports the school leader. Management evaluates and supports the school staff, right? So this is a good little guide on who should be doing what in terms of your management versus your board. So why do lines blur between governance and management? Because this is what we hear. We hear this a lot with schools. Their boards are really crossing that line into management. It's because boards have good intentions and you want to get things done, right? And if you're not seeing it getting done quick enough, you want to just jump in and do it yourself. The other reason is it's sometimes easier for board members to get their brains around operational issues rather than strategic issues. I identify with that. I am not a strategic person, right? I want to do it. So the only boards I've ever sat on are operational boards, the boards that are actually doing things. I have a real hard time being like, sure, I trust you to go do that. I do not. I want to do it myself. And then boards stray into operations when they lose faith in the head of the school. When you lose faith in the head of the school, if you don't trust your head of school, then it's time to have a different conversation about the direction of the school. How do you stay in your lane? You want to focus on outputs, not inputs. You need to discipline the board to insist on results and high performance, but you don't tell them how to do it. The board defines the what, the staff defines the how, right? You tell the staff, you need to raise us from a C to a B. The staff then needs to put a plan in place. And you can work with the board as management on that plan, but the board does not dictate the plan. The staff dictates the plan. So how do you stay in your lane? Clearly define a consistent set of expectations. Do y'all have board member agreements? No, board member agreements are great. It's not a legally binding document, but it's when you join a board, there are certain assurances you make to the board. Things like you'll show up for meetings. We'll get to again another presentation, but you'll show up for meetings. You'll be prepared. You'll timely file your conflict of interest statement with the state. You'll timely file your Tier 3 financial disclosure. You'll make sure that you take your ethics training every year that you're supposed to take. I can share examples of those. But board member agreements also help when you have a board member who maybe isn't making it to the meetings and is affecting a quorum. It's really hard, especially in small communities, to remove a board member, because usually it's a friend of a friend or somebody you've known for a long time. If you have a board member agreement that says that part of your commitment to the board is that you'll attend 80% of meetings, and they're not meeting that agreement, then it's not personal, right? It's just there was an agreement, you're not meeting it, we're gonna have to ask you to step down. Being explicit about roles and responsibilities. Have a really good head of school job description, and you should visit with that job description annually when you're doing your evaluation. Because anyone who's ever worked in a school or worked for a nonprofit knows that what you were doing a year ago is not what you're doing now, right? So having a good head of school job description can help you, one, stay in your lane, but also can help you if your school leader wins the lottery and decides to leave. You have a job description ready to set out. I know we all want to win the lottery. It's probably not going to happen, but I don't like the hit by a bus thing. That's negative. And then formalize any decisions about governance versus management in writing. Who's responsible for what? So back to that slide that had, these are board responsibilities. These are staff responsibilities. Dashboards are a great way to stay on track. I love dashboards. A lot of times, boards spend a lot of time on things at meetings that they don't need to spend a lot of time on. So if you've defined your goals and your metrics and you're tracking them the same way each board meeting, if you have a goal or a metric that is green, like I did green, yellow, red, right? That's what I use. If it's green and you're on track, you don't need to talk about it. There's no reason to discuss it. But if you have yellows and reds, then you want to spend your time on those things rather than taking up time talking about something that's going the way that it should be. Great. We're on track. Check. Move on. Okay, accountability. There are 3 areas of accountability: academic, finance, and legal. These are the 3 areas of accountability that are in your charter contract. And these are the 3 areas of accountability that your authorizer is holding you to for your renewal. When is y'all's next renewal? When are y'all up for renewal?
December.
Oh, y'all are up this December?
Yes, ma'am.
Academics, annually public schools in Louisiana receive an SPS score and a corresponding letter grade. This tells you how you're doing academically. It measures how well you're preparing your students for the next grade level or post-secondary education. Financial is a big one. 80% of charter schools nationwide get shut down for finances, not for academics. Not always necessarily fraud, mismanagement, things like that, not properly reporting. How are they holding you accountable at finances? Your performance on your annual audits, your financial risk assessments, your appropriate use of funds in accordance with law and policy. That sounds like a no-brainer. It is not. People are always spending money they should not be spending in ways they should not be spending it. You're reporting to your authorizer, and then your annual financial report. We do a workshop on the annual financial report every year because it is a bear. Do y'all do your own AFR?
Yeah.
Did you go to the thing Thursday
And
with
I'm
Steven?
friends with Steven. I didn't come to this one.
Oh, but yeah, well, being friends with Steven is what you want to do.
Right.
You learned that. And then legal public entities laws, which we're going to spend a little bit of time on because I think this is really important for boards. The Code of Governmental Ethics, right? You have to take that ethics training every year. It is a calendar year, not a school year. People get that confused all the time. Then the Board of Ethics calls us at LAPCS and asks us to help them track down board members who have not taken their annual ethics training. We're not going to talk about that a lot today because that, again, is like a whole nother presentation. Public Records Act, Public Bid Law, Open Meeting Law, and then Government Budget Act. There were some changes to the ethics code this year in the legislature. I did not incorporate them into this slide, but when Sarah did her legal update, she incorporated them into there. And then also, did y'all get the legal guide from Sarah?
I'm not sure. I have to go check.
All right, if not, I'll send it to y'all. We put a legal guide out after the legislature every year, and I'll share that out.
I usually get stuff, but I have to check and see what
Yeah.
I got.
Then public bid law, again, open meetings law, and the Government Budget Act. Charter school oversight, the charter law demonstration program. which we just changed last year in 2025 to have the word experimental taken out. We are no longer experiments. We've been here for 30 years. We're now just charter schools. We're not an experiment anymore. We're really excited about that. And then policies, Bessie Bulletin 126 and 741, and then any other policies that your school board has. There are some sections of Bulletin 126 that I think it's important for boards to be familiar with. I will share the slide I have in another presentation on that with this, because it has the links actually to those sections of Bulletin 126, and those are the sections that really apply to boards and that you should be specific with. And then your contract. Each charter school's contract is specific to your school. So that is what you have to, those are the things you're being held to comply with. Okay, so what we have in Louisiana are called the Sunshine Laws, our public laws. Open Meetings Law is conducting public business openly. The Local Government Budget Act means openly adopting and amending public budgets. Public Records Act means allowing access to public records and documents. And then Public Bid Law applies to awarding contracts for food service or public works in excess of $250,000. Those are the only two times that charter schools are held to public bid law. Everything else that's in public bid law does not apply to us. These blue underlines are links. So when I send the presentation, I will send it as a PowerPoint. You can link and go look further into those laws if you really want to. I'm going to give you the highlights. When does open meeting law apply? Charter board and committee meetings. It does apply to committee meetings. A lot of people think it does not apply to committee meetings because it is not a quorum of the board. It does apply to committee meetings because you are doing the business of the board at committee meetings. Executive session, that does not mean that you have to live stream your executive session. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but executive session is addressed in open meetings law. Your board retreats, yes, your board retreats are subject to open meetings law. Another one that people think is not subject to open meetings law, it is. And you should always err on the side of caution and abide by open meetings law when discussing any matter that will affect the school's board, employees, and students. A failure to comply with open meetings law can subject individual members to civil penalties and render null any decisions made by the board. There's actually a case right now against Bessie, the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, where someone brought a suit against them saying they did not follow open meetings law in a meeting they had last year, and they're appealing it, but currently they're saying that all the decisions they made at that meeting do not apply. Not last year, sorry, the one they had earlier this year about the MFP reduction. They're saying they did not follow open meetings law, and so all the decisions they made do not apply. They're appealing it. We'll see what happens. Notice requirements at the beginning of the regular calendar year. Yes, we do not work on a regular calendar year. We work on a July fiscal year. But at the beginning of the calendar year, you need to post on your website all the meetings you're going to have that year. That doesn't mean they can't change as long as you're noticing them properly. But you need to give people an idea of when your board meetings are going to be. Most boards have every third Thursday at 6 o'clock we meet, right? You can just put that and you've posted your calendar. Not less than 24 hours before the meeting, not including weekends or legal holidays, you have to post your notice. So if your meeting is on the Tuesday after Memorial Day, you have to post that notice on Friday to meet the 24-hour rule. It needs to be posted at the place of the meeting or in the official public journal. I don't know why these people still love newspapers, but they want everything posted in newspapers. And on the organization's website. So you have to post it both physically at the location and on the organization's website. The notice must include the date, time, and location of the meeting, as well as the agenda. And then charter boards in parishes of 25,000 or more must live stream the meeting. The live stream information must be included on the notice. Okay, so this is what I was telling you earlier. I've only ever worked with one board that does not meet that live stream. I did not know we had an area in Louisiana that was that small of a head of charter school, but we do. Okay, when may you use executive session? You may use executive session when you're discussing the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of a person. It requires 24 hours written notice to the person, and if that person requests to have the meeting held, to have that conversation held in open meeting, you must have it in open meeting. This generally is going to be when you're doing your school leader evaluation. You need to notify them in writing in advance. When you're discussing strategy or negotiations with respect to litigation or collective bargaining agreements, if you're doing this for litigation, it has to be litigation that is filed. It cannot be litigation that you think is coming that you want to go talk about, because when you post your executive session notice, you also have to post the case number of the litigation that you are going in to discuss. Discussions regarding security personnel, plans, and devices, obviously. Investigative proceedings regarding allegations of misconduct. Discussions between the board and individual students or parents or tutors regarding the problems of that student. You can go into executive session for that. You do not have to give them 24-hour written notice, but if they come in and say we would like to have this discussed openly, you must discuss it in open meeting. And then cases of extraordinary emergency, limited to natural disasters, which we are very familiar with in southern Louisiana. Threats of epidemics, which I used to before 2020 thought, well, that was a silly thing to put in there, but apparently not. So I will no longer laugh at suppression of insurrections. I don't know what that means, but it could happen. Repelling invasions or other matters of similar magnitude. So these are the reasons and the only reasons that you may go into executive session. You may not go into executive session to discuss contracts. Please don't do that. Charter school boards do that all the time. You may not do that. The Local Government Budget Act. Boards must give the public an opportunity to comment on the proposed budget prior to approval, and this is how. The 15-day rule. Budget has to be made available for public inspection at least 15 days prior to the budget's adoption. You can do that by most people just post it on their website with like watermark and draft. It's the easiest way. The 10-day rule, you must publish in the board's official journal, so in the newspaper, in that section with all the little legal notices, you have to publish at least 10 days prior to the date at which the board will first discuss the budget. You can meet both rules by publishing and making it available at least 15 days. Any subsequent meetings regarding the budget after that first one, just follow normal meeting rules. You do not have to post every time you're talking about the budget. It's just that first one. It cannot be adopted the first time it's discussed in a board meeting. So you cannot put your public notice out and then adopt the budget in that meeting. But you also don't have to have a separate budget meeting. It can just be part of the agenda. I've had people ask me, well, we're meeting on Monday. Can we then meet on Tuesday to adopt it? Yeah, fine. As long as you're noticing your meetings correctly, you can do that. If you want to have 2 board meetings in a row, go for it. And then the certification rule. This is the one that a lot of people forget once the budget gets adopted. Once it's approved, that you must then certify completion of the budget process in the newspaper. So you have to, again, publish in the newspaper saying you adopted the budget. It should say the dates of all the meetings contained in the budget, the discussion, the date the budget was adopted, etc. So you have to publish, you have to post before, and then you have to certify that it was adopted in the local newspaper. Sorry. Are there any questions about any of that?
I had one that goes back a little ways. I understand something's around food service, what the limit is, but you said public works. What are the definitions?
So basically capital projects. So if you're building a building, remodeling a building.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we're going to go over a few things I identified in your board assessment. We're going to talk about board member accountability. We had some folks, it's an anonymous survey, so nobody will know what anybody said, but there were some folks that said that they don't feel like board members hold each other accountable for things. So we already talked about the duty of care, duty of loyalty, and duty of obedience. So board member agreements can help hold each other accountable, right? This is what we were talking about a little while ago. You have a document between y'all that you say these are the things you are going to do, and that's how you can hold each other accountable. And so these are some of the things that I was going over, is be present and fully engaged. These are things out of a board member agreement that I wrote for another school. Understand the role of trustee. Understand the responsibility that you're taking on. Attend all board meetings and committee meetings. And then proactively participate, prepare for all meetings. How far in advance do y'all get meeting materials?
About a week.
Good, excellent. Model the best behaviors of constructive criticism, effective dialogue, and productive conflict resolution. Yes, ma'am. Did you raise your hand?
Oh, no, I was.
This was important because I think a lot of times when someone on the board is a dissenting voice, they don't want to speak up and say that they don't agree because they're concerned about how that's going to be received. Like, we're all grown people. You should be able to have constructive dialogue around things that you don't agree with. I think that's really important. Being committed, advocate for the mission and vision, be an effective advocate to the public, participate in continued learning, capitalize on personal and professional networks. That's one of the big roles of a board member is your board members know people that can maybe help you with things in your school, using your specific expertise, supporting the decisions taken by the board as a whole. That's very important. There may be times that you do not unanimously agree on something. There probably are times you don't unanimously agree on something. But once the majority has spoken, then that's how it's going to be, and everybody needs to get on board and be okay with that and not go out into the community and badmouth the school or the board. I've seen that happen. A very prominent school in New Orleans, there's a big fight on the board. The board members that didn't agree with the majority decision are going out into the community and talking all kind of smack about other board members. That is unacceptable. So you need to speak as one voice as a board, even if you disagreed with the majority that ended up. Duty of obedience, stay in compliance, perform the required ethics training, be knowledgeable of and comply with everything required by law. Those 5 laws are the main ones you need to know in terms of Louisiana Sunshine Law. There are others in terms of like federal regulation, state regulation, but those are the ones that really apply to the board that you should know inside and out. Onboarding. Onboarding is very important. I think most charter boards are really not good at this. They find a board member and they're like, yay, somebody's willing to give me their time. Come on, come join us, right? Onboarding your board members is very important because a lot of times board members don't understand the responsibility that they're taking on. This is the first board meeting I've ever walked into and said everyone here understands that they're the fiscally responsible party to the organization, and everyone said yes. Every other board meeting I've ever done, I've had at least 1 or 2 people go, I'm sorry, what does that mean? I did not know I was taking on that responsibility. Proper onboarding of board members empowers and prepares them for the work ahead. And then confusion and uncertainty can derail the important strategic work of a board. So if you bring on a new board member and the first time they are finding out anything about the school or meeting any of the other board members is at their first board meeting, you're going to spend that entire board meeting trying to get that new board member up to speed. So what does an onboarding process look like? Developing a framework. So what's the process? Determine who owns onboarding. It could be someone on the board. It could be a staff member at the school who owns onboarding the board members. Collecting and organizing onboarding components. I'm going to talk about that a little bit in a minute. Engaging with board members. Like I said, the first time a new board member meets other board members should not be at that first meeting. And then optimizing the onboarding process. Critical onboarding documents. Organizational documents. Your articles of incorporation, your bylaws, your charter contract. These are all things that you should, I call it a board binder because I like paper. It can be a Google Drive, but there should be, like, I have a Google Drive for my board members that has everything in it that they could possibly need. It's got our insurance schedule in it. It's got our bylaws. It's got our strategic plan. It's got our succession plan. All of that is in a Google Drive for my board members at LAPCS. Policies, our employee handbook, our financial handbook. For charter schools, you're going to have a student discipline policy. Right, so all of those policies should be in an onboarding file for a new board member. Board-specific documents. If there's a board agreement, that board member before they come to their first meeting should review and sign the board agreement. Minutes. I always say give a new board member the last 6 months of minutes, because then they can spend time looking through the minutes, and when they come to their first board meeting, they'll know what you guys have been talking about for the last 6 months. Strategic documents, if you have a strategic plan. If you have a process for CEO evaluation, school leader evaluation, all charter schools call their head of school something different. If you have goals and metrics for the year that you've laid out, right? All of that should be in there. Financial documents, the budget obviously should be in there, but also the last 6 months of financials, so they can see the state of the organization that they're coming into. If they're a financial person especially, they can come into that first board meeting with good critical questions. That's it. I got through that. You said 30 minutes, I got through it in 40.
Fantastic.
Alright.
Well done.
Does anybody have any questions?
Are we gonna get a printout, or can we get a printout?
I'm gonna email it to y'all, and if y'all wanna print it out,
Oh, well, okay, email it,
y'all are welcome to print it out if you'd like, but I am gonna email it to everyone.
say, there, that's.
Okay. Alright, if there are any other topics that y'all ever want to discuss, like I said, Dr. Hill has been through our program. It was that 7 hours worth of content, so I just tried to do a high level in the 30 minutes that I had.
I don't have a question so much as a comment. You know, when the charter schools first started, and when this charter school first started back in 2008, it seemed like you could almost get the rules, regulation, policy in 5 pages. And it just seemed like it's growing more and more and more.
Yeah.
Every time I come to the LAPCS conference, it seems like there's a little bit more, you know. And in my way of thinking, if you want to have good board members, those are the type of things will drive people away instead of attract them, you know. So I guess if I have a question there, you know, as you can see, some of us are getting a little bit older than the tooth.
You're talking about.
I mean, that's not very nice, Dr. Hill.
Well, but we're gonna have to, you know, we're gonna have to choose new board members, in the coming future, and, what is a good procedure for getting people to want to be on your board?
Well, one good way to recruit people for your board is on committees. Do y'all have committees? Do y'all have like a finance committee, an academic committee, a governance committee?
We meet as a committee of the whole quite a bit.
Right.
So, I know schools do that. I think that's a bad idea, because for a finance committee, for example, how many people in here are accountants? How many people are in here are finance people? Right? So,
We do have a
We
board
have a board
treasurer
treasurer,
who's not
but
present.
he's not present.
but he's a finance person,
Yes.
right? So you have a finance person on your board, and yet you're doing a committee of the whole and a finance committee with, I don't know how many people you have on your board who you may understand something about finance, but not enough to really like. So what I'm saying is, I am not a fan of committees of the whole. It is perfectly acceptable and within the law. I don't think it's effective. You can recruit community members who are experts in finance, who maybe are not ready to take on the role of being a board member, right? They're not ready for that full responsibility. But a lot of schools will tap bankers, other charter board CFOs. Like, I don't know, y'all don't have them around here, but in New Orleans and Baton Rouge, it's easier. A parent, maybe a parent who is a financial expert, or an accountant, or a banker. But a committee only has to have one voting board member on it, and that voting board member is the chair of the committee. You can populate the committee with whoever else you want in your community. That is where I've seen the best, what I'll call recruitment strategies, because once somebody's on the committee, they get to know the school, they get to know the mission, then they get invested, and then when it's time to tap somebody to move up, you've already kind of got somebody that you've grown into that position. There are 3 committees that I think are really important, and they kind of follow what you're being held accountable to in the contract is academic, because not everyone is an academic expert. I have been working with charter school for 20 years. I know zero about academics, nothing. Have never worked in a school, never want to work in a school, happy to support schools, but I don't want Angie's job. You can have it, no thank you. Governance, right? So your governance committee is usually the committee that is tasked with setting the evaluation process for your CEO, setting the metrics for your CEO, working with your CEO to set the metrics, and also recruiting other board members out in the community, right? So a governance committee, and then your finance committee. I personally am biased and think the finance committee is the most important, because if your finances are not in order, everything else just goes to hell in a handbasket. And those committees should be populated with people who are experts in those things, right? So that's one thing y'all can think about as a board. That's one way to recruit board members. We have spent the last 3 or 4 years in the legislature fighting a lot of regulations that they have tried to put on charter schools. If Caroline, Leslie, and Sarah had not been in the legislature for the past 3 years, we'd have even more regulations than what we have now. We have killed a lot of things that they were trying to do to us.
Such as?
Oh, I don't go there. You'd have to ask Sarah. But there was not last year, but the year before, there was a whole thing about and charter schools too. And so every time they wanted to do a new bill, they go, oh, and charter schools too. Caroline and Leslie got us taken out a lot of those bills. A lot of those bills that now apply to traditional public schools, but not to us.
You know, you came out with this accounting, how many's, sitting on this board of accounting? And I guess Angie's about the furthest one if you look on paper, it's accounting,
But she's not on the board. She's staff.
Right.
well, okay, she's staff. Cleve's been on board, that's handling close to $500 million
Mhm.
a year in another organization. I've been on board like that. You can pick up a financial statement, you can show them or see what's going on, whether it's just you or any company. So you've got that. Janice has been looking at these things for JJ's coming from a banking background.
That's great.
Um,
That's great.
So, they've got a bunch of people here that, may not have an accounting degree.
I don't mean accounting. I mean like finance, right? Have like finance expertise to be able to ask the
Yeah,
critical
yeah,
questions,
that's-
right?
That's proper.
But y'all said yourself that y'all are not all spring chickens, right? So when you're,
I said that.
I think he said long in the tooth, I think is what he said. So you may have a lot of that experience, right? But you want to set the foundation for moving forward when the people who have been on this board forever, the people who are on boards that deal with that, the next person that comes through may not, right? So finance committees, one, you shouldn't be, the amount of time, this is Melissa's opinion, there's nothing y'all are doing that is wrong. The finance committee, that should be an hour where you're digging into the finances, you're looking at the variations, you're looking at projections, you're asking critical questions about where things are off. If you're doing that in a board meeting, then you're not having effective and efficient board meetings. If you're not spending that kind of time on the financials, then you're not digging far enough into the financials.
Well, if you have to constantly dig into that, even though you're on the committee, I think you better look at who you got as your.
I disagree. I strongly disagree.
Well.
I strongly disagree.
What our experience has been here. And, look, we've had some degreed people in here. And, look,
Absolutely. And look, I'm not saying she's doing anything wrong at all. I'm not saying it's because you're looking for something wrong. It's because there are going to be variances. There are going to be anomalies. There are going to be things that are timing things. I think even, I'll say it as the person I sit with my own finance committee, we are not dealing with anywhere near the kind of money that a charter school is dealing with at all. And we do that at LAPCS because my board needs to understand, why is there a variance? Why are we over in this? I mean, you should be going into, you are the fiscal oversight of this organization. So if you think that 100,000-foot view of the finances is fine, then hey, that works for y'all. I'm not going to force y'all to do something else.
If I could
I'm just giving you
add,
best practices.
JJ and I do discuss a lot of the things. He'll call and ask me what this means, and that maybe not in the form of a meeting, but I don't just sit here going, just trust me. I would never,
Right.
Right. But yeah, I do get a lot of questions asked. So
We are also
So maybe we
dealing
should
with a
try to
very
formalize that,
large
just
budget, so it's easy to delve or dive into any of those variances. I think that's why we've.
So
handled
this
it
stemmed
way.
out of Dr. Hill asking me how
Yeah.
you
oh, for sure.
build
For sure.
new board members,
Correct,
and that
correct.
is like
For
one
sure.
of the best. So if
Ways
you
to
don't
do
think
it.
you need a committee, then don't have a committee. I just, in my experience, it's a good idea to do it. Hmm?
I say I firmly agree with that. We're here again, Cleve and I sit on the board, five of us. You're dealing with, right now, right at about $500 million a year,
Mhm.
hospital money. And we have no committee. We haven't had any committees.
Is it a public board? It is?
It was until a few years ago. Since 1991, since about 92, we've had no committees.
Yep.
And there's 5 people on the board.
I look. There's law and policy, and there's best practices. I gave y'all the law and policy. You asked what I thought about best practices. I'm telling you what I thought about
I
best
have a
practices.
question for you.
Yeah.
How often do you go school to school giving this talk?
When they ask for it. Often. Last year I did about 26 of them.
No, but how many years lapsed before you would come back here? We'd have to ask for you?
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Hill just called and said, we would like to invite you to speak at our board meeting. That's what we do. Like, anytime he wants to come speak at the board meeting.
I think what you have said here today, what you said here today would be pretty good exercise to have about once every 3 years. I don't know about y'all. I mean, there are many things that you've said, get bombarded from other boards, that, okay, there it is. But when you come there and you spit it out in a nice, organized form, it just rings the bell a little bit louder.
Mm-hmm. And I think I give there are a couple of boards I go to every few years because, they forget, right? Like, you have the presentation and you forget because this isn't your day to day. Like, those of us who are in this every single day, like, we're not forgetting. But y'all are meeting once a month, right? Like, you're not in this every single day, so it doesn't always ring. I think also hitting some of the other areas that we didn't hit today in different ways could be really, the accountability and compliance presentation that I do is it's about a 45-minute presentation, but it's a big eye-opener for schools. We're also, I'll say one last thing before I stop taking up y'all's board meeting time. Caroline and I were speaking yesterday, actually, about doing a one-day training soon, where we're going to cover all of what we went over with CBLA, and invite as many board members from the state that want to come, free of charge. We're going to host it. So we'll let y'all know about that, where we're going to dive deeper into, we'll basically do a mini Charter Board Leadership Academy in one day. So we're looking at dates for that. So that'll be an option also. We're always trying to we're always trying to help our charter school boards, right? So one of our biggest, not a goal, because it shouldn't be a goal, it should just be a thing, is to make sure all of our charter school boards are legal. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to make sure that all of our charter school boards are legal. So we go around and talk to charter school boards whenever they ask.
Well, one thing I learned from the CBLA was that there's a lot of things we just don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
Some of those accountability issues that you brought up, quite frankly, I never thought that I, as a board member, could be held accountable, legally accountable for some of the things that we don't know.
Yeah.
And so that's why one of the reasons.
Yeah, this is no excuse.
That's right.
I have a couple of things real quick.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the presentation, and I learned several things myself. One of the things I would say just about this board is I think we're very, very fortunate because we have people who, we have a very close relationship with Nicholls State University. Our purpose is to work with kids with dyslexia, so we have a member, the State Center for the Study of Dyslexia, that's a member that participates with us. We've had a close relationship with the College of Education and Training of teachers and school psychologists in the past. And we maintain that. We have the new dean, as you see, is sitting here with us. So there's a lot of us who have expertise both in education, both in higher education, and the kind of training that we want in terms of how we're structuring the organization of our school curriculum-wise. So I think this board, compared to another one that I've sat on, the level of expertise and membership, I left out members of the business community, sorry about that, is a pretty strong board, but there's always things that we have that we can learn from by having more interaction with you and your association. The second thing is my frustration, and I would give that to you, and I'm sure this is not the first time you've heard that. One of the things that I have found since the onset of this school, and it's still happening today, is this floating matrix, floating metric is a phrase that I would use when it comes to school performance evaluations. It seems like that there is a constant variability year after year after year of what kind of data that we need to collect or present, even changes in how annual testing of kids goes. We still are waiting. I don't know if we've got the data back, but we're looking from the data from the State Department that we need to use to make decisions on that we haven't gotten. Is that correct?
We've gotten them, yes, sir.
When?
I sent out an email. We got them at the end of June, a few days after. I do have it in
Who's y'all's
my.
authorized? Are y'all Bessie authorized?
Bessie.
Bessie, yeah, y'all type 2.
And
Yeah.
it's
Well,
in the principal report. That's going to be one of the topics.
Yeah, type. Bessie changes their policy. Oh, they make changes.
Yes. That's a point of frustration, I guess, is what I was like. Sharon, I'm sure you've heard that from
Yes.
everyone.
Yes, we have. You also, too, as a board member, should always feel empowered to contact the charter office at the Department of Ed and speak to them about your frustrations. The staff they have at Bessie right now, well, at the Department of Ed, their charter office right now is a really good staff. They're always willing, Jermaine Gilson in particular, who is the superintendent for the charter office, is always happy to field calls from board members, from community members, from staff. She used to be in the charter office in Jefferson Parish. She's amazing. And is always open to feedback. So as board members, you should feel empowered to contact your authorizer and be like, hey, can you help us understand this change? But Jermaine's great. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for your attention. Oh, yeah, Boo.
One of our board members is not here right now, Hal Davis. And,
He's
he wanted the
paying attention right now.
Okay, and he's listening in.
Okay.
But he said it's time for us to do an annual review of the bylaws and the policy manual. We do try to do that every year, and it's time we do it now.
Yeah, so I would say you should do an annual review of policies and your financial policies and your employee policies, just because things change at the federal and state level and policy-wise all the time. I don't know that your bylaws you not necessarily need to review annually.
Review, and
Maybe every couple years review your bylaws. And really only if you're thinking of like you want to make a change or if you have new board members, just so people know what's in your bylaws. Because it's important. There are some people put things in their bylaws about having committees, and then they don't have committees. I mean, that was a big thing with Orleans Parish School Board. They were required to have committees, but they were having committees of the whole, which didn't satisfy what was in their bylaws. So, it's whatever's in your bylaws, you need to either follow or update your bylaws. But I'm a fan of the board reviewing everything every year, just so that it's again like you think you should have this presentation every 3 years so you understand like the bylaws are. Doesn't hurt to send them out in a board pack and say, hey, look at them. Let us know if you have any questions. So yeah, I'm a fan of board reviewing everything all the time.
Any
Well,
other
thank you.
questions from the rest?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, that's well done.
Thank
you. very much. Appreciate it.
We will make sure that y'all know if when we set that 1-day training in case anybody wants to come and
Any chance of a live stream? I know it's just sometimes.
not for this one,
Got
because it's really hard.
I know it's better in person, but sometimes some people just
Yeah.
really can't.
Well, we're
you
gonna
know.
we're trying to do this more often.
Gotcha.
We're trying to put this one together specifically for type 2s because they're kind of like
We different. We feel different.
y'all are different. But we're gonna try and do it more often. And then also, like the final thing I will say is like you are all anytime welcome to call me or Caroline or Sarah if you have a question. We are always available, and I always answer my phone between 8 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock at night. After that, it's got to be emergency. But I'm available if you have questions. If you're like, I didn't really want to ask this in the training, shoot me an email, give me a call. I'm happy to help.
Thank you.
If you do the 1-day training, would you consider redoing it at the conference in December?
So, you mean like a full governance strand?
No, you said you were talking about, not the full thing. I know you can't do the full thing at the conference, but, maybe a smaller version of it.
We always have governance training at our conference. The reason we didn't want to do it at the conference is because our conference you have to pay to come to, and we're trying to get as many type 2 board members as possible there. But we also do you did CBLA. I mean, it's an hour or an hour and a half once a month for 4 months. Like we'll do that in Baton Rouge again the beginning of next year. We have lots and lots of opportunities to engage, but we will have. I mean, we always have governance content at the conference, so we definitely will have governance content. All right, you guys. Well, carry on with the rest of your board meeting. Make good
Safe
decisions.
travels.
Thank you. Thank you, Nan.
Be safe.
I'll see you probably at the next thing.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Want to add a little humor to all this?
What you got?
I learned this from some British people working overseas with them. What's the definition of camel?
I've heard this before.
A camel, either dromedary or I don't know what you call a thing.
I've heard this before, but I don't remember it.
It's a horse designed by committee.
Y'all have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Designed by committee. They look so funny.
Yeah, put a little humor in it, I hope.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll go.
Okay,
I gotta go
let's
pick
see,
something
where
up. I'll
are
go see
we
her.
now? We are on, I know we agreed to skip a few here.
We can skip it. That's not true.
We're training on item number 5.
Yeah, what one of the more important things, the financials.
So funnily enough, a lot of the things she talked about financially, I'm very familiar with because I had to be. A few things kind of stood out. I did indeed advertise that I would have a meeting to discuss the budget, but no one ever shows up. So, but there was a meeting 15 days ago to discuss the budget. So those kinds of things do happen. I guess it's maybe a little quieter, and I could share those things to let you all know when that is as well. but yeah, it was definitely posted in the newspaper and stuff like that.
Do you think there's something that we need to do to formalize?
I can
in a different
definitely
way?
tweak the way I do things.
You mentioned you talked to JJ, and I heard her say that it can be a committee of one person on
Right,
the board.
right.
That if that person has a background in finance,
Right.
would that
I mean, we talk regularly. He
satisfy
asks
the
me.
level of the?
He asks me questions about my financials every month. So,
You go to so many
so
workshops.
So yeah, I do try to keep current, and she did probably mention a few things that I kind of was like, oh, I need to look into that. And I made myself some notes, but other than that, I did indeed send you guys our financials for the month of June. Everything. The year ended on a high note because I mean we did not go in the red. When you look at our expenditures for the month of June. Versus if you go back to the month of, pardon me, I lost a piece of paper. I did lose a piece of paper. When I accrue salaries, it does look like it is in the red, but in overall it is not because it is my salaries that include June and July because August 1 is the new school year, and then that will be picked up in the next month's financial statements. Everything. No budget variances. I was able to include a budget to actual at the end. No major variances that would have required a budget amendment. I do try to keep my eye on that pretty often. And with that being said, before I say with that being said, a few things just to note. June was very, very standard as far as what I had to do with the grants management. Completed the PERS, which is the expense reports for the year. Super App Amendment 1 is still waiting approval. I submitted that back in June. There are deadlines, however, sometimes it takes a long time to get back to me. We will be having a lunch administrative review coming up in the fall. Some of the paperwork necessary for that has already been submitted. They kind of do it in steps. So I'm working on that kind of on the daily. I think last meeting we mentioned the L'Oreal Foundation grant. It did indeed. We did get the check for $40,000 and we did buy new Chromebooks for our students. So Mr. Matt, our IT supervisor, is busy working on making sure everybody's ready for the first day of school next week. And then a few of the payroll tax reporting requirements and fiscal year closeout for TRSL. All of those are the things that I have been working on for the last month or so. So that does bring me to, I did send out the budget to you guys. Usually I take the budget and I compare expenditures from the last couple of years. I do make assumptions on some things based on, I know electricity I thought was going to be out the roof this year, and it actually was less than last year. So, but you all had a chance to look at it. I cannot submit a budget that shows a negative balance. So I'd have to make sure when I come up with the numbers, everything looks good. And if I do come upon a variance, we will have the meeting to approve that variance if that should ever happen. I do have, Ms. Rodrigue will touch on an enrollment increase, which will affect the MFP bottom line. Yes, I am the finance person, but it's very hard for me to guess what that number is going to be until they get our count in the fall, and then they give me an updated budget letter. But when that happens, I will definitely update the budget to reflect that. So I don't know if you guys have any questions about what you saw. I did not put it in the packet. We are also having a paper shortage, so I'm very, very keen to not make too many excess copies. I'm sorry that I don't have that in the package, but it is up there if you guys need to refresh or review. I brought a copy of it. So I believe that brings me to that first action item, and then you guys have to do what you have to do for that. So.
All right, we need to have a approval of that, maybe a motion.
One more thing I have to add. This is going to lead into the next action item, but the guidance on the stipends that just came out requires that the budget is approved with the mention of these stipends, and it is indeed on the line 150 is the expenditure code for object code for stipends, and it is indeed on that budget document. So that's before we approve the budget, and then I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the next action item.
We're not in violation of what you just talked about by doing this a month in advance, I hope.
It's due tomorrow, so
Necessity.
right.
I move we approve the,
All right, it's been moved. Second. And second,
Larry.
Steve seconded, Larry moved. Are there any further discussions on it? No further discussions, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? You got it, next one.
Thank you. The next action item is, I did also include the executive order guidance from the LDOE that talks about what needs to happen in order to be in compliance with the stipends that were approved by taking money from the MFP into the form of stipends, and by adopting the budget and a salary schedule that includes the stipend amounts, we are in compliance. Last month, we adopted the budgets. I did have a statement in there that mentioned that we would pay the stipends according to the guidance, but since I got this, that kind of spelled it out a little more. I changed that line to say stipends of $2,000 and $1,000 will be paid to teachers and support staff at max. When it's time to pay them, we will have another action item to approve the actual act of paying the stipends. Usually happens around November, but this action item, the salary schedules have not changed except for the wording that mentions the stipends for this school year. So that would be action item number 2. Yes.
All right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Cleve,
second.
second by Jason. Any further discussion? Be there no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? You got it, roll on.
Thank you.
Oh,
That's really all I have.
Grants,
Grants, we already did that.
Grants, I did mention
And we spent all the
L'Oreal.
money.
Yeah, and the monies came in and went out
in the bank.
faster than you
That's
could
the best
blink.
way to have it.
Yeah.
Okay, as far as buildings are concerned, I think what you had has been taken care of.
Yes, sir, but I did speak to Mr. Manuel yesterday. There is a recurring,
Oh, something up on the roof?
yes, and he understands the assignment, and he also has the materials. It's just a matter of him finding the time to get back up on there to double do it. Thank you.
Thank God.
He came for something else. I was holding all of his chargers hostage.
Okay,
I wanna say one thing, that when I was coming in, the branches from a tree over there, they just scratched up my car.
Yeah.
It needs to, a branch or two needs to be cut.
the case has gotta be brought against that tree.
Who owns that tree? Nickel State?
It'll be cut.
I mean, it's just,
That's number next to be
I
done.
tried.
Remember, we gotta.
It's
I had to
not
make a
my
dramatic
tree. I put in
move
that
to the left to get
request.
around that.
I
You
may
did.
I may or may not have actually done a little bit of a haircut on a different tree, and they don't like that. Although they did get rid of an entire tree in this corner, but they don't like it when I do the haircut on the tree.
Who is they? Nickel-
Yes, because it's not my tree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So I can lop off the crepe myrtles to my heart's content. They are, I guess, technically
okay.
mine.
I'll tell you what, just remind me
Yes, sir.
when he comes over, the two of us will come over and we'll
Yes, sir.
take care of that problem for Boo.
For me,
Okay,
Whose problem?
all right, that's it.
Okay, so let me see if I can get through this. So we continue to receive and review applicants. We are currently at 101. We haven't broken into the hundreds in a while. Very, very excited about that. July's been busy. I went to the K through 12 School Safety Summit. It is not for the faint of heart. Let me just tell you that. Lots of things to consider that we're still working on. I also went to the workshops in Baton Rouge for social studies on July 9th. the workshop for ELA in Luling on July 10th. We recently had another workshop for the science walkthrough tool, as well as for the unit progression tool that they're rolling out on July 27th. I've already spoken with the staff, and we're going to be disseminating a lot of this come next week on Tuesday. We had our new student and parent meeting yesterday, had a pretty good turnout of 20 of our 28. I know in my email I said sorry because I had 30, but I miscounted because I don't handle money or numbers, so they're full. So great turnout in terms of all of those new parents, and we are really excited about the new school year. I will have a meeting with the construction, NSU PD, and NSU chief facility officers concerning Carline and the fact that they keep encroaching on what little parking lot I have left. They keep parking on my sides of those barriers, Mr. Jake, and then mean mug the teachers now that they're coming in. I'm not happy about this. Just letting you know. It's going to be a fun meeting tomorrow. You're still coming, right? Bring something to drink. You might need it. Okay. August 3rd through 5th is going to be professional development. That's going to be next Monday.
A lively person.
That's going to be next Monday through Wednesday as we're getting up and ready with all of our stuff. Actually, Monday is going to be safety care because we are a safety care focused facility as opposed to CPI. So they're coming in. We have two of our teachers who are trainers who are going to be training in the de-escalation techniques that we utilize so that we can all be recertified. We do this every year. School starts August 6th. That's Thursday, everyone. I would not have anything to do with Audubon on that day. Just, you've been warned. Go around, Percy Brown, any other way you can get where you need to go. Open house will be August 26th. That is a Wednesday. So if, I know Dr. Davis, are you still listening, Dr. Davis? Because he usually comes for that, but if you guys are available, you are also welcome to come to see the turnout. It's usually a pretty big and lively crew that comes in for open house. An important factor that I put in here, Miss Christina Woods, who is our Director of Charter Accountability with regard to our renewal, would like to visit the board on our September 24th meeting to give our charter renewal presentation. Now, bear in mind, she works in one office and we are waiting for numbers, different kinds of numbers from another office. She understands the frustration, but she may not have all of the answers, okay? I didn't make copies to pass around, but see the yellow? This is good. This is our growth from last year to this year across the 4 different, and you can come and peruse this at your leisure. I think I took I took the names off of this one. We're really excited for the number crunching, but there's so much number crunching. There's everyone's number crunching, and then there is our alternate framework number crunching, which our renewal hinges on, and finding the people who are going to crunch those numbers. Now, I don't have the everyone number crunching, Dr. Welsh. That won't come until a little bit later. They're moving the timeline closer and closer. So in the past, it wasn't until the end of November or the end of October that we get the SPS scores coming in. Mm-hmm. They are looking at an earlier date than that in the past, but this is the first time that they're doing it whole hog, okay? And so where it actually counts. So I'm looking more towards the end of October than the beginning of October.
Be nice if they did it the same way they did it last year.
They are going to do it the same way they did it last year because that is the new calculation. Are you talking about where I showed you where we had a failing grade and we had a D? The D1 is the new calculation, and so they are doing it with that calculation again this year.
But
It is
wouldn't
the
it be
new.
nice to have that data at the end of May? I mean, we should be using these data to plan what we're going to do and how we're going to adapt for the next school year. But if we're not getting that until November, October, you know, it's like, why are we collecting all of this data?
Well, I mean, we did get this, we did get the individual scores on the students and with us, because it is such a small school and a small number of testers, it was easy to tabulate what last year to this year's growth scores were. It's just a matter of what is the calculation, whatever their calculator that they use, where they plug all of that in under our renewal framework, the alternate framework, which is out of the loop. So like I don't have a whole lot of people that I can call on for that calculation. Okay? But like you said, I'm very excited, waiting for that information to come out. Hopeful that it's going to be as positive as it was last year. I mean, the new calculation favors us and all schools because it is more progress centric. Okay? It's meeting those progress points for each individual student, which is why it gets kind of tabulated. So I'm not against the new calculator. You know, overall, if you get a lot of people at mastery or higher, you're going to do well. And we had a few masteries this year. I mean, we don't usually have that. I'm very excited about that. We're on the right track. I don't know if we're on the right track in terms of the trajectory of expectation. That's the hard part. Okay. So, but Miss Woods is going to be here for our September meeting with that for you guys for that meeting. And we are still set for, I'm assuming, a sit meeting in December, like we had 3 years ago.
All right.
Okay. Dr. Shanman's proposal and the funding, that's what I have under our CAVAS update.
We had discussed needing to talk about the foundation financials. I did not get that in time to send to you guys, but I do have that. I don't know how that works. Foundation,
Yeah.
I just have the numbers. I don't do anything with it. So
Well, I think
we had
need
discussed
to
that approval
Discuss it
later
in this meeting.
in this meeting. Okay, I don't know how it works.
Just discuss the funding.
Just real quick, and I can pass this around. There's a balance of $32,000 in the checking account as of June 30 for the foundation. These numbers are provided by Sadie. I'm just passing it on. The proposal for Shanman
The proposal.
included a fee of
7.
about $7,000 for his services to do the things that he does with our staff. Sorry, I don't know the right words. She can probably answer better than for the meetings and things of that nature. And all I would need is approval from the foundation.
The
Correct.
members here.
Okay, on the foundation. So
So,
I don't.
Look,
You
we
go.
can easily have a meeting after this, if we wanna be very formal, we can have another meeting after.
Okay.
but it wasn't announced. I
Okay.
know, we need to change some of the,
But
For
the
sure.
foundation, it is not the entity of the school.
Yeah.
The foundation can have a meeting tomorrow if you want. No, I'm just telling you don't need that.
Well, I just wanted to mention because I wasn't sure how it works,
after
but
we,
After we finish this meeting,
Okay.
take 2 minutes.
So,
How much we
that
talking
means-
about, $7,000?
$7,000. Yes.
Come on, let's finish this one, we'll go to the next
Okay.
one quickly.
Thank you. I think. Are you done?
Yes.
Thank
I'm
you.
done.
Okay, that's it? No.
That's it for me, yes. I tried to be as fast as possible, sir.
Well done,
Well done.
Well done, very well
I
done.
think,
Okay,
Mr.
obviously,
Chair, one quick thing,
yeah,
you know, I don't know if this is even worth saying, but I think Dr. Welch had a good point, you know. You can't really plan for the next school year if you only get the data once school has already started, you know. You would think at this point in time, the state would be able to get that data to us at least by the end of May, so that we can have June and July meetings to help strategic plan for the next school year. So I'm just.
Thank you. Somebody ought to
Oh,
ask
I
Chat
agree.
GPT to do the computations. It seems like, you know,
I bet you
we're
they
not
could
trying to
do it.
rendezvous with
My
Pluto
wife
with
spends
a
$20 a
spaceship,
month on
right?
ChatGPT. Usually
All right.
about $120 worth.
Let's see where we are here now. PTA, right, there's nothing on. I'm assuming that, am I right?
There's no
There,
PTA.
here.
Oh, they're not too active in the summer, yeah,
Okay.
so, sorry.
Is there any other business coming from the board? All right, nothing there as far as the announcement is concerned. August 27th will be the next board meeting. Is there anything else to come in front of the board?
Motion to adjourn.
What's that?
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, that's what I'm coming to. If there's nothing else, I hear a motion with adjourn. You move,
I move.
and
Ooh, second.
Steve seconds. And everybody's in favor, I presume?
Beyond state.
All right. Do we actually need, a foundation meeting now?
Let's do it and get the funding.
No, I mean,